Here is another video that I think you are going to enjoy. In this video, I will show you that you can ask ChatGPT to imagine a dialogue between great mathematicians. So here is the first prompt that I have composed. Imagine that Newton and Leibniz were alive now and having a disagreement about IKEA furniture. Crazy story, right? Please compose a dialogue between them which draws on their different approaches to differential calculus. I'm sure you've heard the names Newton and Leibniz. You may or may not know that they both sort of possibly independently developed the system of differential calculus, but they started from slightly different approaches. They have different notations, and that different notations actually had significant impacts for how Newton versus Leibniz were able to develop their systems of calculus. So, quite an interesting history in mathematics that's wrapped up between these two gentlemen. And now let's imagine them having a disagreement about IKEA furniture. Let's see what we get. So this was really enjoyable to read. There's the dialogue between Newton and Leibniz, and they're disagreeing about how to put together an IKEA chair. But the disagreement is really about their different approaches to understanding differential calculus. It's really great. I'm going to scroll through it, so you can pause if you would like to read this dialogue. And yeah, in the end, I think that ChatGPT wants to have some nice conclusions. So in the end, they do kind of agree that they need to put aside their differences and focus on the work at hand. And let me see. So here's something pretty funny. Then Newton says, "Perhaps you have a point. Now hand me that infinitesimal screw over there." This is great. So in this case, the dialogue just stopped. The last time that I ran exactly this same prompt, ChatGPT gave me a different dialogue between Newton and Leibniz. It had similar flavor, but in fact, in that dialogue, they were actually at the IKEA store discussing which furniture they should buy. But what I actually liked about that previous version was that at the end of the dialogue, ChatGPT wrote an additional paragraph that was discussing the themes that it wove into the dialogue, which it didn't do here. It just stopped the dialogue. So, if you're doing this, you can see how it looks on your side. You can regenerate the response. You can actually specifically ask ChatGPT to discuss the themes in differential calculus and how that differed between Newton's approach and Leibniz's approach, and how those themes are woven into this dialogue. But I am going to move on to the next example, the next demonstration. So please imagine that Euclid and Bolyai are astronauts in the future. They're trying to fly their spaceship to Jupiter because Jupiter is full of diamonds that they want to bring back to Earth and sell. I'm just having some fun here, guys. Please compose a dialogue between them that highlights their different approaches to geometry. Okay, I'm sure you know the name Euclid. You might not be familiar with the name Bolyai. He was one of several important mathematicians who formalized non-Euclidean geometry. And you might be familiar with this idea that in Euclidean geometry, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But in non-Euclidean geometry, for example, when you're on a sphere, the shortest distance between 2 points is not a straight line, but a curve. And so that's on the planet, we call it a geodesic, the shortest distance between two lines being a curve. And of course, that's why planes fly curved flights. So there's many, many mathematicians who were involved in developing non-Euclidean geometries. Bolyai is not the only one, but he is one of the important mathematicians. Okay, anyway, let's see what this dialogue looks like. So I initially ran into another issue with ChatGPT and OpenAI. So I just regenerated the response. Here it is. Again, I will scroll through this slowly. This is also a lovely dialogue. This is less combative than the previous one because I didn't specify that Euclid and Bolyai should be having a disagreement. So here they're friends, of course. You got to be friends with someone if you're going to fly to Jupiter with them. And well, they're discussing back and forth, and Euclid is being open-minded to non-Euclidean geometry. And in the end, Euclid is saying, once we land on Jupiter's surface, then my principles will be essential to navigating the planet. And this is also a useful idea or insightful concept that Euclidean geometry, even when it's not strictly relevant, like you're on the surface of a planet, which is not strictly Euclidean geometry, but still at relatively close distances, Euclidean geometry is very simple, and it's such a good approximation that there's really no need to worry about the complexity of non-Euclidean geometry when the Euclidean geometry is a really good approximation. Okay, great. So together we'll bring those precious diamonds back to Earth and show that the harmony of geometries can lead to great success. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you come up with some other really interesting prompts with interesting answers, I would love to hear about them in the Q&A. So feel free to contribute to the course by sharing your creativity in the Q&A.